3 leash walking behaviors: feeding position at side, let's go, and giving into leash pressure. I learned these 3 leash walking techniques from my wonderful mentor, Kyle Rayon.
I'm going to show you 3 of the leash walking exercises that I've been working on with Wish here. So the one exercise that I should work on more is simply feeding the puppy for being in the right place at my left side. Now, when you work on this in a training session, the puppy is going to look at you, but I suggest when you're on a walk and you're walking along and your dog's perfectly in the right place, you're going to be waiting for your puppy to not be looking at you and not thinking about the food when you're going to mark. So you're just walking, you see a loose leash, your puppy's right next to you. You can either mark or feed your puppy for being in the right position. The reason that you don't want your puppy looking at you and mark your puppy looking at you is that you then get a dog that looks at you the whole walk. So if you really reinforce eye contact at such a young age, the puppy is not going to look around at the environment very much. And you want the puppy to be looking around and learning what the world is like. Otherwise, it's going to be a big shock when they're 6 months old and they think to look around and, oh my gosh, there's all this scary stuff. So, that's very cute. In training sessions, your dog is obviously going to be looking at you because there's no distractions, or your dog knows he's working for a click and a treat. But in real life, when you're just casually walking, I suggest the best thing to do is click when the dog is not thinking about the food, just like the settle. It's like a moving settle. Your dog's walking calm, perfect, next to you, mark and feed. Are you ready? Oh, I also suggest not clicking when you feed your dog walking next to you, because what can happen is that as soon as you click, your dog thinks you're doing a training session. So I would say use a calm marker that's associated with calm behaviors. For example, the settle. Yep. However, in training sessions, you can use the clicker. Are you ready? You don't look that ready. So the first thing I'm going to do is just simply click and feed her for being next to me. So I've got the leash and the clicker with treats underneath, which I just spilled, in my right hand, because I wanted to walk on the left side. And I'm going to feed her the treats with my left hand, because even if you can feed treats with the right hand, it can tend to make the dogs anticipate where the treats are going to come. So even if you're very accurate with putting the treat down there behind your ankle, the dog can still anticipate where they're coming from. Where if they're in your left hand, or the hand that's on the side of the dog that the dog's going to be on, the dog's anticipating getting the reward from there. If your dog starts to stare at your treats, you can put your hand behind your back while you're training, which I do often. You'll see me having my hand there all the time. Are you ready? Let's go. Good girl. Okay, so the first exercise, because she's a border collie, she likes to go wide and kind of look at me from a distance and try to herd me around. So I want her a little bit closer. So I'm actually going to use this wall over here to get her to be right where I want her to be, right next to me. So for casual walking, I suggest feeding behind the heel or along the seam of the pants. So I'm just reinforcing her for being in that location. Now I'm going to take a step forwards, and before she passes me, I'm going to click and feed down on the ground. Good girl. I'm going to take another step. Good girl. Awesome. Now I'm going to turn the corner. Good girl. So there she went out ahead of me, but I dropped the treat on her head. If your dog goes out ahead of you, because your marking and reinforcing was too slow, where's the treat? It's in your ear. Great. I lost the treat in your ear. Okay, it's going to fall out sometime there. Okay, so if your dog goes out ahead of you, you can simply invite the dog back, and then click and feed. Am I in the shot? Yes, good. What a good girl. So you might be asking, why am I feeding on the floor And the reason being is if I take a step forward and I feed on the floor, it gives me time to move ahead of my dog. Where if you feed your puppy in the mouth and you move your hand away, they can quickly move ahead if your puppy moves ahead. If your puppy's taking treats hard, I also suggest putting them on the floor so that you don't have to worry about a hard mouth while you're working on the position of where you want your puppy to be next to you. Okay, so, oh, there's a treat there. So that's one game you can play, just feeding the position while you're standing still and the puppy's staying next to you, because most likely if you've done a lot of training, the puppy's going to want to line up with you. And today when we were on a walk and I had some treats out, my puppy started to come in front of me and I was going to trip on her. So for me, feeding here and teaching her this near the side is great. Also because I do, canine freestyle and stuff like that, where the dog needs to be reinforced for being at your side. Good girl. Okay, so the next exercise that I want to show you is the let's go. The let's go cue is a great cue to use, say if you let your puppy go sniff. So you've been walking along the sidewalk and then there's a nice place where your puppy can sniff and you say, okay, go sniff, and you follow your puppy around. Then when you're done, you can say, let's go, and that means we're moving. Another thing that you can use let's go for is if your puppy's greeting another dog or person and then you want your puppy to come away from them. For example, I don't know, you think the other dog is going to get excitable or looks angry, you can say let's go and move. Also, if you think your puppy might bark, they get alerted by something, you could either use your kissy noise or say let's go, meaning come on, let's go in another direction. But it's a fun cue associated with positive things, so your puppy's not going to freak out. Pop-ups! Good job. Are you ready? She said, you've been babbling quite a lot. Okay, so here we go. First, I'm going to get my puppy to follow me. That's the first step. And you can do that by backing up and clicking the dog for following you. As I said, this method was trained to me by my mentor, Kyle Ram. Once your dog can follow you and turn to keep attention on you while you back up, then you can start to move forwards. Now, you could lure your dog, but it's much better for fading the lure if you put the lure behind your back and click the dog for looking at you. So if they're looking at your hands, you can make a little noise to have your dog look at you. They don't have to look at your face, just generally at your body. So once your dog can follow you, as you back up and turn, and you can make pop, 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 little noises to encourage your dog to find you interesting. Click and reinforce. Then you can start to see if your dog will walk with you at your side. So I'm going to encourage my dog to come forwards, and just as she's about to pass me, because she's not worked on heel work walking on a loose leash very much, I'm going to stop her with the treat. So as she comes to catch up, because she's naturally going to want to get in front of me, I'm going to immediately drop a treat down on the ground and then take another step. Good girl. So I should have clicked her moving rather than standing still. Good girl. But now that she's at my side, I'm going to click her for being next to me. So here we go. And walking with me. Awesome. And then I'm going to start to take turns. So in this room, I have to take turns quite a lot. Anyway, as you saw, she tried to get on the other side of me as I turned. I just kept the leash short enough that she didn't get on that side, and you could even lure the dog back to the right side. Awesome. Okay, so now she's reliably, as I turn, she turns with me. That's great. If your dog's not turning with you, you can make a cute little noise, puppy, puppy, and click and reinforce your dog for coming to you or patting your leg. Pup, pup, pups. Awesome. Ooh, there's a treat there. When your dog is reliably turning with you when you turn, you can add the cue, let's go. So you're going to say the cue before you turn and move in the opposite direction. Ready, puppy? Let's go. Good girl. Good girl. So you're going to click the moment the dog turns with you at first. Let's Let's go. Awesome. Good girl. Let's go. Good girl. Okay, so when your dog is successful and you've played this game a couple of times, you can then use your cue. Ready? Let's go. Good girl. And then take a couple of steps before you click and treat. Let's go. Awesome. After a couple of training sessions, you can proof the behavior again by putting food on the ground or having someone hold food. So perhaps your dog is saying hi to someone who's feeding them treats at the pet store, and you need to go now, and you don't just want to pull your dog, so you're going to say, let's go. Awesome. And at first your dog might not be convinced that this is a good idea, so you can get distance away from the treats, so stand further away from them and ask for your cue. Let's go. Good girl. Oh, there's one there. Good girl. Or maybe it's a dead bird that she's just seen and she's pulling towards. Let's go. And you can go in the other direction. Awesome. Okay, go get it. So you can release your dog to eat the distraction if you wish, or you don't have to. Okay, so the final exercise that I want to show you before she gets very full is the leash pressure game. So your dog is headed off as an adult or as a puppy in a direction you don't want, pulling on leash. You want your dog to come with you. You can say, let's go. But what if the puppy doesn't move and you've walked into a road and a motorcycle's coming, or there's an aggressive dog running down the street and you need to move your dog? The leash pressure game. And I think I already showed you a little bit of me training her, the leash pressure game. But basically, if your puppy's nervous about tension on the leash, so when tension happens on the leash, they freak out and panic, then you need to go really slow where you're just pulling on the leash, yep, and that equals a treat. So they're just feeling a little bit of pressure and they're not panicking. Then you want to practice it when the puppy's standing. Pop-ups. So I'm just going to put a little pressure on the leash and then, yep, feed a treat. Yep, awesome. And you can do the same exercise with the collar if you're planning on taking your dog's collar. Yep, and I have a video on that on YouTube of how to teach them to like having their collar grabbed. Yep, and also being led by their collar. It's the same concept. I want her to stand up. Yep, good girl. So that I can pull her just a little bit forwards, as you see. So as I put the pressure on the leash, I'm clicking her happily coming towards me. If your dog looks miserable, then just go back to the touching the leash equals a treat. Awesome. All right. Okay. So now, you can also do it where the dog's coming towards you or the dog's going away from you. So at the beginning, when your dog's facing you, it's as though you're pulling them and they're sitting down, or they're stopping behind you and you're pulling them towards you. But when you start to add a distraction, the pressure will come from behind like that. Okay, she said, that will make me sit for some reason. So once your dog looks happy with that, you can add the distraction, just like we did with the let's go. So I'm going to put the distraction down on the ground, over here. And for training-wise, that's a little close to start with, so I'm going to lure her away from it and feed her. Now, when she sees the distraction from a distance, I have more of a chance for her to turn and come with me. So you can either wait and click your dog for choosing to turn back to you. If your puppy doesn't, just take a step backwards, click, and reinforce for your puppy giving into the leash pressure. Now, if your puppy just doesn't get it, you can use an enticing noise, just like with the let's go cue. So you add leash pressure, so the leash pressure predicts that you're going to use a recall or a fun noise. Good job. Awesome. I think I added my fun noise too quickly. Good girl. So do you see how she goes out, comes back, goes out, comes back? You don't want that. So after about 3 sessions, 3 trials of her going out and coming back, you want to click and reinforce her for staying with you. So she went out, she felt the leash pressure, and that made her want to come back and not be on a tight leash. Basically, you're teaching the dog when they feel the tight leash, they should come near you to loosen the leash. Now, if you keep proofing this game, your dog is going to generalize it, so you could use different types of food, different types of toys, different types of people and dogs, and places to sniff, like a fire hydrant. You're going to teach your dog when they see things they want, the only way to get there is on a loose leash. Hey, Pop-Ups. So I'm going to move the distraction over here and do the game again. So pressure on the leash, click and feed. What you're not doing is jerking your dog. You're holding the leash against your body to move your dog. Good job. And be careful that you don't back up and trip on something, because that happens to me a lot, especially in public. So my mentor Kyle Rayon trained me this behavior as well, and oh my gosh, I have to admit that my Border Collie Splash walks so perfectly on leash because of this exercise, and just this exercise mainly. Good girl. Oh, good job. Okay, I think that my puppy is quite done. I would usually not do this much training in one session. You're so good. Good girl. Okay, go get that. Go get the treats right here. Right here. Awesome. Let's go. Awesome. Sit. I've never had you sit at my side.